This year, a house does not need to be burned down or flooded to lose tens of thousands of dollars in value. It only needs to suffer from one of several very common flooring mistakes that almost no construction crew warns homeowners about beforehand. You'd be awesome if you subscribed and liked this video. 1. Choosing flooring unsuitable for the climate. I've witnessed this firsthand more than once. Homebuyers bring entire design plans from California magazines and apply them to their homes in Texas or Florida, without considering the vastly different climates of the two locations. A lawyer who moved from New York to Miami is the clearest example I've ever encountered. He brought with him the familiar mindset that a wealthy home must have solid, large planks of oak flooring. The more natural, the better. The contractors warned him beforehand, bluntly stating that the moisture from the sea would corrode the wood in an undesirable way. He still went ahead with it. In less than a summer, with the air conditioning running continuously and the sea moisture seeping in every time the balcony door was opened, the living room floor began to swell like small waves. The bedroom door jammed shut and wouldn't close. This isn't bad luck. Natural wood reacts to its environment more like a living organism than an inert material. In humid regions like Houston or Florida, wood absorbs water and expands, causing the edges to warp or the entire plank to bend. In dry regions like Arizona or Southern California, the opposite happens. The wood shrinks, revealing large gaps between the planks. The price to pay is not small. Good solid wood flooring can cost around $20 per square foot, and it can be completely ruined after just 2 seasons if the air conditioning system doesn't control the humidity. The creaking sound underfoot will turn potential homebuyers away at the door. You can still install solid wood in humid areas. Just be prepared to run a central dehumidifier year-round to keep indoor humidity between 35 and 55%. For most families, cross-laminated engineered wood or high-end wood-look vinyl flooring are the sensible choices for hot, sunny regions. Before choosing a material, ask yourself where you live, how many pets you have, and how much maintenance you're willing to put in. That answer will determine your flooring, not the picture you just saved on your phone. 2. Overusing gray flooring. I have a confession. A few years ago, I advised many clients to choose gray flooring because I thought it was safe, easy to match, and never went out of style. It turns out I was wrong, or at least half wrong. For almost a decade, gray flooring was practically the unspoken default for home renovations in America, from resale homes to new constructions. This year, however, the very color once considered the safest has become the first sign that home buyers are turning away. Have you noticed that everywhere you go viewing a house, you see the same color tone? The problem lies in how gray reacts to light. Its cool tone almost completely blocks out warm wavelength light, and under modern LED lighting, the entire room takes on a lifeless hue, more like a clinic than a living space. A homeowner in the Dallas area once told me that she viewed 5 houses in a row, and all 5 had the same drab gray flooring, as if all the homeowners had bought the same roll of discounted material from the same warehouse. Gray flooring isn't bad, it's just been used to the point of losing its character. In the eyes of wealthy buyers this year, it's associated with the image of a hastily built, careless home, not a real investment. If you're building new or doing a major renovation, consider more natural tones, such as honey oak, light walnut, or warm gray beige. If you've already laid gray and don't have the budget to tear it down and redo it, it's still salvageable. A cream-colored natural fiber rug, warm lighting around 2,700 to 3,000 Kelvin, and some solid wood furniture will restore much of the lost warmth. Planning to live in this house for life and prefer the industrial coolness? Keep it as is. It's your house. But if you're planning to sell it in a few years, know that you're competing with a host of identical homes. Gray flooring only makes your house harder to sell. The next mistake is something entirely different. A seemingly harmless decision is turning the bathroom floor into a slippery trap. 3. Small, glossy ceramic tiles for the bathroom. More and more high-end bathrooms are ditching polished porcelain tiles entirely, and not because they are out of style. It's because they are truly dangerous. I'm not exaggerating. Many older homeowners still love small format polished tiles, sized 12 inches by 12 inches, installed across a spacious master bathroom because they think it looks luxurious. This is one of the mistakes I worry about most when consulting on renovations for elderly clients. The more polished the tile, the lower the slip resistance. When that surface gets hit with water, soap, or simply condensation after a hot shower, it turns into a literal slippery mirror. Using small tiles in a large space also create hundreds of dense grout lines across the floor, which both makes the room look smaller and creates countless points for dirt to accumulate over time. Elderly people slipping and falling in the bathroom is not rare, and that is exactly why real estate agents are now extremely sensitive to this detail. High-end buyers will pass on a house as soon as they step into a bathroom with polished tiles, especially if they are planning to bring their aging parents to live with them. Polished tiles aren't always bad. You can still use them for the walls of the walk-in shower where no one sets foot directly. But for the floor, choose a matte surface or stone-look tile with a high slip resistance rating. This year's trend is leaning toward large format tiles, about 24 inches by 48 inches, to minimize grout lines, creating a spacious resort-like feel and making it much easier to clean than scrubbing every tiny grout joint every weekend. Safety first, aesthetics later. 4. Cheap luxury vinyl plank. Two identical-looking vinyl flooring panels in a showroom can have a price difference of 3 times. Have you ever wondered why? The answer lies in a number that almost no store will proactively tell you. The thickness of the scratch-resistant protective layer, measured in mils, equivalent to 1/1000th of an inch. Cheaper options only have 6 to 12 mils, lasting less than 4 years. Standard commercial flooring should be 20 mils or more. Many manufacturers intentionally make the core of the panel 10 millimeters thick to give you a feeling of solidity, while the actual protective layer is very thin. Cheap flooring also often only has 3 to 4 wood grain prints repeated, so if you look closely, the wood knots will appear in the same places over a small area, immediately revealing its industrially molded nature. I still remember one family in Orlando who owned 2 golden retriever dogs and bought cheap vinyl flooring from a large supermarket chain. After just 3 years, the flooring in the main hallways is already scratched up, revealing unsightly, opaque white streaks of plastic that can't be hidden. It's not uncommon. Home buyers in areas like Phoenix or Houston are now savvy enough to spot cheap vinyl flooring. They'll haggle relentlessly, knowing they'll have to spend extra money scraping it off and redoing it. High-quality wood-look vinyl flooring can yield 70 to 80% return on investment when you sell your home. The cheaper, mass-produced kind, on the other hand, will drag your home's value down even further than your initial investment. Have pets or young children? Don't be tempted by cheap options. Choose a type with a minimum 20 mil protective coating and at least 10 different wood grain patterns to ensure a natural look. That's a much better investment than having to redo everything after a few years. There is a detail that doesn't cost an extra cent but determines whether your room looks spacious or cramped. 5. Installing flooring in the wrong direction. This is the mistake that annoys me the most because it's completely free to avoid. All the contractor needs to do is determine the orientation before cutting the first plank. Yet, many construction teams still choose to lay the planks according to the most convenient corner of the room to save time, without considering the light or the shape of the room. When you lay planks perpendicular to a large window or skylight, each joint between the planks will cast a distinct shadow whenever the sun shines obliquely, exposing even the smallest imperfections of the floor underneath. Laying them perpendicular to the longest wall in the room creates a constantly broken visual line, making the room appear shorter than it actually is and the ceiling seem lower. Imagine a west-facing living room with a row of skylights running along one wall. If the planks are laid perpendicular to the row of glass windows without considering the afternoon sun, around 4 o'clock in the afternoon when the sun shines directly on it, the entire floor will look like a rippling surface of water, with hundreds of small shadows cast along each groove, clearly revealing unevenly finished planks. The room will look cramped and somewhat sloppy, even though the homeowner has spent a considerable amount of money on materials. There is an exception to be aware of before blaming everything on the light. With solid wood planks, sometimes the installer must lay them perpendicular to the load-bearing beams beneath the floor to ensure structural stability, regardless of the window's location. This is a case where structure must prevail over aesthetics, and a skilled installer will explain this to you before construction, not for you to discover after the work is finished. The rule here is not complicated. Identify the longest wall and the largest window in the room first. Lay the planks parallel to those two elements. In open-plan spaces connecting multiple rooms, maintain a consistent plank direction throughout to create a seamless feel. If a change in direction is unavoidable, such as when entering a narrow bedroom, use a high-quality transition strip to create a deliberate boundary, not a makeshift patchwork. This detail costs nothing more than laying the planks in the wrong direction. Just take a few minutes to measure before you start. 6. Ignoring the moisture barrier on concrete slabs. This is the most dangerous mistake on this list, precisely because no one sees it. You can't check it visually, you can't feel it, and by the time you discover it, it's already spread beneath the subfloor. Concrete subfloors naturally release moisture from the ground, especially in newly built houses or areas with high groundwater levels. Without a proper moisture barrier, moisture will accumulate beneath the subfloor. This moisture pressure causes the wood fibers to rot, or causes the vinyl flooring to blister, and the glue joints to peel off without you even realizing it. This situation is so common that it's almost a rule in the industry. After only about 2 rainy seasons since renovating their house, homeowners start hearing strange creaking noises when walking through the kitchen. Lifting up a few planks to check usually reveals a thick layer of black mold underneath, and a musty smell immediately permeates the air. Home buyers in the US are extremely wary of mold because it directly affects their respiratory system, and they won't hesitate to demand tens of thousands of dollars in discounts to completely strip the floor and retreat the subfloor. Are you on a high floor in an apartment building or living in a completely dry desert region? The risk might be lower, but laying a moisture barrier is still a mandatory step in the instructions of every flooring manufacturer, without exception. Before laying any type of flooring on a concrete subfloor, ask the contractor to lay a 5 to 6 mil thick layer of specialized waterproof plastic membrane. The seams between 2 sheets of membrane must overlap by at least 8 inches and be sealed with waterproof tape. This small step alone determines how long your entire floor will last. 7. Chasing trendy patterns. Every time a new floor pattern explodes on social media, I brace myself for a wave of regret a few years later. Herringbone is the clearest example right now. From 2015 to 2025, the herringbone pattern was practically ubiquitous, from magazine photos to home renovation videos. This year, based on my observations in the industry, it's entering a saturation point, and a home with an entire large room laid in a herringbone pattern risks being labeled as a 2020s renovation, following a path to outdated designs similar to the gray flooring of the past. The problem isn't just about aesthetics. Herringbone creates thousands of diagonal cuts at the edges of the walls, increasing material waste from about 5% when laid straight to 15 or 20%. The technique for aligning the floor with a symmetrical string is also much more stringent. A millimeter off-center will cause the entire floor to become distorted and have gaps at the corners. I was called to renovate a house in suburban Atlanta, where the incompetent contractors used engineered wood for herringbone flooring without considering the axis of symmetry. When they reached the opposite wall, the herringbone pattern was completely off to one side, leaving unsightly chunks of cut wood. The cost of rework was even higher than laying a new floor. Do you really need an entire room laid in a herringbone pattern, or just a focal point to create a sense of luxury? Apply the principle of accent areas. Only use herringbone flooring in entryways or small bathrooms where it creates an immediate impact upon arrival. For larger living rooms and bedrooms, revert to the traditional straight-line pattern. It's much more durable and makes the house easier to sell later. If the herringbone trend makes you flinch, wait for the next part. I will tell you about a mistake I once made in my own home. 8. Colors that are too dark. I used to proudly show off my dark-stained oak floors in my own home. They looked so captivating in photos, dramatic and luxurious, like a boutique hotel. I was wrong, and it took me almost a year to admit it. Dark floors have an extremely low light absorption rate, acting as a perfect backdrop for everything you don't want to see. Dust, lint, pet hair, dead skin. All of these stand out clearly in the afternoon sunlight. Have you ever noticed you hesitate to open your curtains for fear of the sunlight exposing all your bare footprints on the floor? I was in that situation, and it looked like a scene that needed cleaning every day. In sandy, windy states like Texas or Florida, fine dust clings to dark floors after just a few hours of the vacuum cleaner being turned off. Scratches are also much more visible, revealing the lighter wood underneath that can't be hidden. If your home is spacious, has high ceilings, is flooded with natural light, and is cleaned daily, dark floors can still be a symbol of luxury. However, for most families with young children or furry pets, the majority regret their choice after just the first year. If you still prefer a dark tone, opt for a textured surface with a brushed or brushed finish, combined with a matte finish instead of a glossy one. This naturally rough texture breaks down reflected light, hiding dust and scratches much better than a smooth, flat surface. It's that simple, but it completely changes the feeling of living with dark floors every day. 9. Inconsistent flooring. Have you ever stood in the living room of a house for sale, looked down, and seen 3 different materials at eye level? Natural wood in the living room, glossy 2000-era tiles in the kitchen on the left, and a faded gray carpet in the hallway on the right. Once, while showing a house in the Inland Empire, I witnessed this very scene, and the client simply remarked, "This house looks like a museum of outdated building materials." This is the consequence of a piecemeal renovation over many years, with only enough money for one room at a time, or simply a reluctance to waste leftover materials from previous renovations. The constant changes in material thickness, from tiles to wood to carpet, create uneven floor levels requiring the use of various connecting strips, which not only cause tripping hazards but also disrupt the visual flow of the entire house. The house looks cramped, fragmented, and somewhat outdated. It reveals to potential buyers that the homeowner lacked a comprehensive plan, only making patchwork repairs due to budget constraints. The house completely loses the inherent elegance of an open-plan design. According to reports from real estate agents in Atlanta and North Carolina, homes with a uniform floor type on the first floor, from the entrance through the living room to the kitchen, sell twice as fast as homes with fragmented materials. You don't need to change materials in spaces with completely separate functions like laundry rooms or small bathrooms, where water resistance is more important than uniformity. But for common areas, prioritize a single type of flooring. If the budget is tight, a staggered approach is fine. Just make sure it's in the right order. Entrance first, then living room, and finally kitchen. Choose materials with similar warm or cool tones so they complement each other even before the entire project is finished. From the issue of inconsistency between rooms, we now move to an even more subtle error, located right in the way each plank is installed against the wall. 10. Flooring with missing expansion joints. This is the most basic technical error on the list and also the most unforgivable, as any experienced tradesperson knows this rule from day one. Regardless of whether it's natural wood, engineered wood, or wood-look vinyl flooring, all expand and contract continuously due to temperature and humidity changes with the seasons. This is a physical characteristic, not a manufacturing defect. If no space is left for expansion, the planks will swell and push against the walls, creating a reverse force that causes the middle planks to lift. In the summer, when humidity is high, the floor will start to bulge like a bubble in the middle of the living room. Stepping on it will cause the floor to wobble, and the plastic interlocking system underneath may break on the spot. This completely ruins the flat structure of the entire floor. It can't be fixed locally. You'll have to remove a large section to cut the planks, costing both time and money. Many DIY teams or shoddy contractors intentionally install floorboards tightly against walls and door frames for a neat appearance during construction. It looks tidy, but it's a ticking time bomb waiting for the first humid season. This gap might look unsightly before completion, but it's a mandatory rule in construction, with no exceptions. During installation, always use shims to leave a minimum gap of 1/4 to 1/2 inch between the edge of the floor and the wall, around the entire perimeter of the room. After laying, this gap is perfectly concealed with baseboards or decorative molding, and your floor can freely expand and contract with each season without blistering. A small gap, about 1/2 finger's width, in exchange for a durable floor that will last for many years. Take a walk around your house today. Tap lightly on the doors to hear if they resonate, carefully inspect the baseboards for cracks, and notice how many different types of flooring you have. It only takes 5 minutes, but it will give you a clear picture of where you stand before deciding whether to renovate or sell your house this year.